The sharp, metallic taste of old resentment rose in my throat, familiar and bitter. Tell that ungrateful daughter of mine to fix this mess right now. My mother's voice, distorted by the speakerphone but unmistakable in its lacerating tone, was a key turning in a lock I thought I'd sealed shut. The entitlement, the instant assumption of my culpability, it was a vintage from a vineyard of family dynamics I had long since chosen to leave. A moment later, the second buzz was a frantic whisper, a secret pass in the hallways of our shared history. Clara, your family's outside the Blue Orchid, and the staff just told them their reservation was canceled. They're furious. A slow, deliberate smile spread across my face, one that felt earned after years of being on the receiving end of their disapproval. The warm, sugared air of my bakery, the rising crumb, felt like a protective barrier. Which daughter would that be? I asked, my voice unnervingly calm. The one they uninvited to Thanksgiving last year for having the audacity to work the Black Friday rush? Hi, I'm Clara. I'm 29 years old, and for the better part of it, I've been cast in the role of that daughter, the supporting character in the grand family drama whose only job was to highlight the success of the leads. While my brother, David, ascended to his partnership at a white shoe law firm, and my sister, Amanda, perfected the art of the charity gala on a surgeon's arm, I was the cautionary tale. I was the one who wasted her potential, a phrase they wielded like a blunt instrument. Their vision for me was a spreadsheet, a corner office, a life measured in quarterly reports. Mine was measured in grams of sourdough starter and the golden hue of a perfectly proofed brioche. Dropping out of business school was my original sin. Opening my bakery was the heresy that followed. To them, my hands, dusted with flour instead of shaking hands on deals, were a symbol of failure. They couldn't see that while they were building portfolios, I was building a community. They saw me just needing dough, blind to the fact that I was needing a life of my own design, one that smelled of yeast, honey, and hard-won freedom. And as their perfect evening at the Blue Orchid crumbled before it began, I found a profound, quiet peace in the simple, tangible truth of my own choices. The phone screen glowed, an uninvited specter from a world I had consciously stepped away from. It was a Tuesday morning, and the scent of roasted coffee beans and freshly baked almond croissants filled my office, above the flagship Chorus Crust location. I was deep in a financial report, the numbers detailing a new multi-million-dollar investor partnership that would fuel our expansion into 3 new states. The figures were a silent, powerful testament to a vision they had never been able to see. Then the screen lit up. Not a whisper from a family friend this time, but a direct message. The name that flashed was simply Mom. My thumb hovered over the screen. A lifetime of conditioned response, a flinch of anxiety, a pang of inadequacy threatened to surface. I could already hear the phantom echoes of those family gatherings, the soundtrack of my young adulthood. Ryan's arguing a landmark case in court this week, Mom would announce, her voice swelling with the pride that was as tangible as the champagne in her flute. And Lydia is now consulting for Fortune 500 clients. They simply can't get enough of her strategic mind. Then the inevitable, gentle pivot. Her eyes would land on me, and her tone would soften into a careful, maternal condolence. And Clara, well, she's doing her baking thing. It was the same voice reserved for a distant aunt with a questionable new hobby, a mixture of pity, dismissal, and a silent, desperate hope that I would simply outgrow this phase. But her baking thing had become an empire they never bothered to look for. While they chuckled over my quaint little cupcake hobby, I had been laying the foundation of something real, something formidable. It started as a single bakery with a stubborn dream in a quiet, overlooked corner of the city, then a second location, then a third, each one a quiet rebellion, until Chorus Crust blossomed into one of the fastest growing artisan cafe chains in the region. Its logo, a stylized, graceful wheat stalk, becoming a symbol of quality they unconsciously enjoyed themselves. I never sent press releases to the family group chat. I never bragged. I let the work, the long lines out the doors, the glowing reviews speak for itself. Their ignorance was a choice. Taking a slow, deliberate sip of my coffee, I picked up the phone. The text was brief, its simplicity belying the seismic shift it represented. Mom, dear, your father and I were wondering if you might be available to talk today. There's something important we'd like to discuss. The sting of my mother's initial text was a sharp, familiar poison. We've decided on family only for Thanksgiving this year. Please don't come. The reservation at the Blue Orchid is for immediate family only. Immediate family. The words, so clinical and final, landed with a physical weight. A dull ache in my chest I thought I'd become immune to. It was the official seal on the truth I'd always felt, but they'd never so plainly stated. I was an outsider. Then her call came, her voice dripping with the saccharine condescension that was far worse than her anger. You understand, right, honey? This dinner is for people who've, made themselves. We just don't want you to feel out of place. Out of place? At a restaurant I own? A bitter, disbelieving laugh caught in my throat. The irony was so perfect, it felt scripted. You see, while my family saw me as the perennial, struggling baker, my reality had expanded far beyond the four walls of my first shop. The Blue Orchid, with its Michelin aspirations and exclusive clientele, wasn't just a place I admired from afar. It was my latest and proudest acquisition. My company, Cora's Crust, had purchased it 2 months prior through a discreet private holding, a strategic move under a different corporate name to test a new market. I knew its payroll, its seasonal menu, the exact cost of its Italian linens. I was the reason the reservation system had been so seamlessly updated. Later that evening, my phone chimed again, this time with a notification that I had been added to a family group chat, a forum from which I had been conspicuously absent for years. The first and only message was from my brother, Ryan. No hard feelings, Clara, he wrote, the text a perfect echo of my mother's patronizing tone. You know, Mom just wants to keep things comfortable. The Blue Orchid is pretty upscale, not really your type of place. I stared at the screen. The finality of their collective judgment settled into a cold, hard resolve. They were so confident in their assessment, so secure in their hierarchy. They had uninvited the disappointment, carefully curating their immediate family dinner at a venue whose very existence now depended on my success. They wanted a celebration for those who had made themselves, all while sitting as guests in my empire. A slow smile, devoid of warmth, but full of purpose, finally curved my lips. They were so concerned about me feeling out of place, they had no idea the hostess was about to arrive. The words, not your type of place, echoed in my mind, a haunting refrain from a lifetime of being gently, firmly placed on the outside. They had said the same about my first bakery's location, about my ambition to expand, about every space I had ever dared to build for myself. The next day, the digital salt in the wound arrived. A post from my cousin gushing about a luxury Thanksgiving dinner with the real success stories of the family. I was a ghost, my name erased from the narrative of our lineage. The sting was a dull, persistent throb, a familiar companion. But the true breaking point came on Friday. It was my brother, Ryan, his voice dripping with the condescension he mistook for generosity. Hey, Clara, since you work in food, maybe you could help out that night, like part-time staff. That way you can still be there. The silence on my end was not contemplation. It was the sound of my jaw clenching so tightly, I tasted the metallic tang of blood. You want me to serve your table? I asked, my voice dangerously level. He had the audacity to chuckle. I mean, it wouldn't be weird. You do serve people, right? It's kind of your thing. My thing. Reducing a life's work, an empire built from flour and fire, to a menial task. In that moment, The last fragile thread of my desire for their approval snapped. They saw my apron as a uniform of servitude, never understanding it was the banner of a creator, an employer, a leader. They thought my success was invisible because it didn't come with the corner office or a professional title, blind to the fact that my name was on the building, their building. The quiet fury that replaced the hurt was cold and clear. They wanted a celebration of success in a temple of my own making. Very well, they would get one. Wednesday night, I called my assistant, my voice calm and steady. Cancel the Johnson family reservation for Thursday at 6:30, permanently. She replied, her tone professional. Yes, Miss Walker. Shall I notify them? Let them find out the hard way. Thanksgiving afternoon, I arrived at the Blue Orchid early. The air was electric with the quiet hum of meticulous preparation. I moved through the dining room, now transformed for an exclusive charity dinner I was personally hosting, an event for major donors and partners, where the conversation would be about multi-million-dollar grants and legacy giving, not who argued which case in court. I adjusted the centerpiece of a towering floral arrangement, my fingers brushing against the velvety petals. From the maitre d's podium, I reviewed the guest list for my event, a roll call of genuine influence and ambition. A small, satisfied smile touched my lips as I glanced toward the entrance, imagining their arrival. They were so eager to dine among success stories. They were about to discover that the most compelling one was the hostess they had spent a lifetime failing to see. The phone's vibration was a final, frantic pulse from a world that was about to shatter. It was my mom. Clara, what have you done? They said the reservation was canceled by the owner. You fix this right now. Her voice was a blade, honed by decades of wielding it against me. I took a slow, deep breath. The polished calm of the Blue Orchid's office settled around me like armor. Mom, I didn't cancel your reservation. Then who did? She snapped, the words cracking with impotent fury. I did, I said, my voice even and clear. As the owner. The silence on the other end was profound, a void where her entire understanding of my existence was collapsing. What are you talking about? You're not. I am. I owned the Blue Orchid, along with 8 other restaurants under Walker Culinary Group. I built all of this while you told everyone I was still baking cookies. I could hear my dad's muffled voice in the background, a low, stunned utterance. That can't be true. Oh, it's true, I said softly, the truth a weapon I had finally unsheathed. Last quarter, our revenue surpassed $2 million. You wanted a dinner for the successful family members only, remember? You were just looking them in the wrong places. An hour later, they arrived, a portrait of bewildered privilege. Huddled in the lobby in their finest clothes, they were utterly lost. I walked out from the back office, not in an apron, but in a sharp, tailored white suit. As I passed, the maitre d', the sommelier, every single member of the staff acknowledged me with a respectful, "Good evening, Miss Walker." My mother's jaw dropped slack. Clara, surely we can talk about this. We're family. Yes, I smiled, a gesture that held no warmth, only finality. And you said this dinner was for successful family members only. Well, here I am. My father stepped forward, his face a mask of pained reason. Now, don't be cruel, Clara. We made mistakes. I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw the years of condescension in his eyes. The mistake wasn't excluding me, Dad. It was underestimating me. I handed my mother a simple, elegant business card. When you're ready to treat me like a person and not a punchline, call my office. My assistant will fit you in. Then I turned. I walked back inside, past the glittering chandeliers, the impeccable waiting staff, through the heart of the life I'd built with my own 2 hands. That night, as the charity dinner began, I stood on the balcony watching the city's elite enjoy food from my recipes, served by my team, all part of my dream. I wasn't the ungrateful daughter anymore. I was the woman who had stopped asking for permission to matter. Later, my phone glowed with a single text from my brother. "I'm sorry. We were wrong. I'm proud of you." For the first time, I felt no compulsion to reply. The apology had come, but the need for it had evaporated. Because here's what I learned. Success doesn't need validation from people who never believed in you. You don't have to prove your worth to anyone who decided you had none. Build your dreams so boldly that they have no choice but to see it, even if they can no longer sit at your table. So, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. And tell me, have you ever been the family disappointment who became the family surprise? Because trust me, your story's just getting started.